We're bringing you 5 fabulous kitchen ideas on today's episode of Homeworthy. No need to be a culinary connoisseur to feel inspired by the punchy patterns and rich hues of these breathtaking kitchens designed by some of our favorite tastemakers. But first, a big thank you to K-BIS for partnering with us on today's Homeworthy episode. Discover the latest in kitchen and bath design at K-BIS 2024 that's happening February 27th through the 29th in Las Vegas, Nevada. You'll be able to see thousands of products, learn from industry leaders, meet with manufacturers, and scout the hottest trends. And it all happens at K-BIS, the largest kitchen and bath industry show in North America. Register now at kbis.com. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Let me take you to the room in the house. It's really just a wall, but it's where all the magic happens, and it's my kitchen. I feel very lucky that I have this height in a kitchen this size. Obviously for New York, it's exceptional, but it also lets me kind of collect cookware and cookbooks. As you can see, I'm a bit of a hoarder of cookbooks. These aren't even close to all of them, but I love having them here because sometimes when I'm a little stuck for inspiration, I just kind of flip through them. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll go through a few cookbooks, and then all of a sudden I have this new zest for life and zest for cooking. And also I love all the different covers and the book binds, and I don't know, it's what I'm really, that's where I geek out the most, is cookbooks. Here I have my pots and pans collection. They kind of come from all over again. Like, these were both my grandmother's copper pans. This is actually a fish pan that Eric Repair gave me very recently, which is such an honor that I feel like I'm never going to use it because I'm scared that I won't do it justice. And more my favorite burgundy staub. This is a gratin dish, and this as well. I would say pretty much this copper saute pan I make every single thing in. If I was moving into a new apartment and it wasn't me, meaning a cookware hoarder, I would say you buy one of these and one stock pot, and that's all you need. And this pan, it's like one of those things where it has the biggest return on investment. This is so old and it's still in great condition. I love the patina. Some people are like, why don't you polish them? And I'm like, no, because this shows like a lot of good things were cooked in here. But the way it sears, the way food interacts with it, it just makes everything the best it can be. And it's really all you need. And it happens to be pretty to show off. So if you have a small kitchen like mine, you can leave it on the stove, and it's a bragging part. I have kind of an old chopping block collection, which I also love because I use it for food styling. I actually serve things on there, and I think it's great. This is an old silver tray from a hotel in France that I picked up in Hudson, and I think it's like, if I really want to make a show-stopping presentation, I put something on there and it automatically looks very fancy and very, very, very indulgent. I always have a bowl of produce that I try my hardest to get through. And here it's a little more fall pumpkin vibes, but usually it's like asparagus and artichokes and persimmon. It's like, it's always overflowing. It doesn't always look as contained as this. This happens to be my favorite of my staub pots. Obviously there's the rooster, which is amazing. But I like the green, and I really like the oval. It's nice for braising. It's beautiful. The thing I love most about these pots is that you can serve them on the table. You don't need to transfer it to a dish. This is a statement piece itself. My janky oven is actually great. I love it. It's also great for recipe development because it's pretty accurate. It takes its time to heat up. It's, it's old. And this is actually a little broiler drawer, which I think is like actually the biggest luxury I have, is this like separate broiler drawer. I put most everything in there at the end of cooking to give it that beautiful brown color and a little bit of char. I would say pretty much all of my inspiration comes from the past, whether it's my family or it's, the wonders of the Victorian age or, the French Renaissance. I think all of these different time periods really inspire how I move forward now. But I like to take these things and take, these styles and these dishes and make them modern just by kind of toning them back and adding some freshness. I'll find a recipe for a roast and then I'm like, this needs acid, this needs herbs, this needs brightness. But I think, there's so much beauty in the way that people used to do things because they cared so much. It wasn't about, a 15-minute rice bowl. It was about really kind of devoting a whole day to making something very special. And I know that's maybe not the most practical thing, but to me, cooking food slowly and, preparing your home over the course of a few days, that's the biggest luxury because that's what really makes people feel special. So here I have my servingware collection. Obviously, what you put your food on is almost as important as the food itself because, from back when I first started food styling, I would kind of pour my heart and soul into a dish and then it would be kind of plated on like a oval, white, shiny plate and it looked bad no matter what. So I like to collect kind of different types of things. These plates are from a shop called LES Collection. And I adore the ruffle molding. And I actually I wouldn't think that I would love a black plate, but I love how it's just kind of intentionally messy. So I love these. And then I have the dinner plate version, which are just all white. I like things that are imperfect and that have character. These falconware enamel plates I think are so chic and they're so utilitarian. You can't break them. They can withstand all types of heat, but I think they actually look very chic and they kind of transport you to the French countryside, even though it's a UK brand. And then below these, I have this collection of plates that are actually antique Tiffany's. And it was from this collection where each plate is a different spice. So this is the vanilla plate. This is the cinnamon plate. It goes on, but I love that they're kind of informative, but also so beautiful. And obviously when you think of cinnamon, you don't think of this image, but it's kind of great. And it actually says cinnamon laurus cinnamonium. And this is vanilla aromatica. So excuse my pronunciation. But these are special and definitely prized. I don't use them as much, I guess because I'm scared to, but I should more. And these little plates are from my mom's stepfather. And I think they're so beautiful. Just the color, the kind of like this subtle cracking in them, obviously the border, they're just really lovely. And they are from Stratfordshire, England. I don't use them that much again because I'm scared, but it kind of goes against my entire ethos because I'm all about using things no matter how beautiful or precious they are, because life is meant to be lived and food is meant to be enjoyed. And if you have something like this, you should use it.
So when we redesigned the house, we decided to put the kitchen up here because this is this amazing penthouse level with views and light. So we spend a ton of time in the kitchen, but it's also open. And so what I wanted to do up here was design an open kitchen that looked as least like a kitchen as possible. So we achieved that in several ways. I've got a hidden refrigerator here. I don't know what's inside there, so don't look too closely. And we have a hood that comes out of the cooktop, like this. It's magic. And then we have this great open shelf. And I think that, you know, when we were thinking about the house, I thought for sure I was gonna have to have dishes and functional things up here, but really, again, the architect wanted us to like be able to display our art and our objects. And so we just compromised by saying we don't need to have that much stuff. So everything we have is stored in the cabinets here. I've got a pantry around the corner too. And it allows this shelf to be free for an ever-changing collection of objects and art that we love. So my husband is actually the chef. He used to work in a restaurant actually as a teenager and was the head chef, which is crazy. So we both cook. I think that, you know, we both kind of alternate on, we have both busy schedules. So sometimes I'm cooking a lot, sometimes he's cooking a lot, but cooking in this kitchen is a real joy. I mean, we've got amazing views, amazing light. It's just wonderful to cook up here. It doesn't feel like you're in a kitchen, and very functional. You know, and I like to keep it tidy. I don't like to have a lot of stuff out, and that was very intentional. I know not everyone wants to live like that, but I did, and I just absolutely love this space. I just put this floral arrangement together this morning for you guys. It's just a little thing. It's a little dramatic, but I actually love arranging flowers. It gives me so much peace. It's something I do to relax. And so we sourced these beautiful flowers yesterday at the San Francisco Flower Mart. We've got dahlias, eucalyptus, and the most insane Technicolor hydrangeas that you can imagine. And I just love them. It's hard to talk about my kitchen without mentioning this insane pendant. This is designed by a local artist named Joanna Grawunder, and it is made out of cast acrylic. It's called the Disky 7, I think. It really makes a statement in the kitchen. It's actually the first thing I bought for the house. So this set the tone for the entire house in terms of the vibe that I wanted to have. And I love this pendant. You can see it from the street. People comment on it when they're walking by the house about how much they love this pendant. It also looks just as good during the day when it's not lit as it does at night because of the acrylic. It's one of my absolute favorite pieces, and if we ever move, which we'll never move, it will definitely come with me. But it's just perfect in this space, and I love the color it brings to the room. So one of the best things in this penthouse is the way that these windows operate. They're actually sliding doors. Our architect is a genius for this move. And they're just short sliding doors. So we can really open up this entire level and experience the beautiful outdoors. Warm San Francisco day. We can wave to the neighbors, get some fresh air in here, and it's just like a really wonderful way to experience the space.
Welcome to our kitchen. I want to talk a little bit about the cabinetry, its inspiration, and how I wanted this room to not look like a kitchen. This again was taken from David Adler's doors. This is a literal concentric pattern similar to his doors. And everything is made out of white oak, quarter-sawn white oak. And I basically, you know, we put a simple finish on it. We try to get to, you know, just an oil finish with a little bit of liming in it, but we just keep it very simple. So the main goal was so that it, you know, since it was right off the living room, I just didn't want it to look like a kitchen with huge appliances. So here we have our island out of this old oak. We have a black oven over here. And so Najmi came up with a great idea of, hey, why don't we stain the cabinets black to the left of the oven? So we did that, and it turned out great. I had never done black cabinets before, so I wasn't sure about it. So the cooktop I wanted it to look more like a console. So it's on legs and didn't, make a loud statement that it's a range. And we use this kitchen every single day we cook. I'll tell you, one of my favorite rooms in the house is this little pantry. And it is an instant pantry. It is very small. I think it's like 8 square feet maybe. And where we keep our dishes, I have a tendency to collect these glasses with this gold leaf on them. I love those, and so sometimes I get obsessed about things and I keep going a little too far sometimes. But this is where we have our coffee pot and our tea kettle and things like that. One thing I didn't mention about the cabinetry is the countertops are bronze. And one of the special things here was to do this recessed water line here, reveal. And that was just, more of a traditional element that I've seen for years in stone pieces. So we were able to do that in this bronze to have this reveal around the perimeter. I'm pretty sure they will never do it again. But I love it. I'm very happy with it. And again, bronze countertops here as well. And there's a couple of things that are special in here that I want to mention. It's this lamp. On our first trip to Paris, this was another find. We went to the flea market the same day we were looking for the lamp. And we saw this pumpkin lamp, and I just fell in love with it. And so we decided, let's keep on going. This is our first thing to see here, and we want to see if we find anything else. Well, we forgot about it. A year later, I go back to Paris with Betsy Brown, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Betsy, the pumpkin lamp's still here. And I don't know if that's what they call it, but anyway, so I didn't want to get it just yet, although I loved it. I don't know why I didn't, because it was, again, our first stop. So we spent the rest of the day at the flea market, and I forgot about it by the end. I was too tired. So we get home, and Nashmi and I are going to dinner at Betsy's house. And I said to Nashmi, should I just buy that pumpkin lamp? And anyway, that was on the way to her house. When we got to her house, this pumpkin lamp was sitting on her island. And she gave it to us as a wedding gift. So it will always be something very meaningful and to us both. The interiors, the style is made up of a lot of things. I like to think of it as timeless and classic, but it also has mid-century pieces in it. I really love mid-century furniture, and I seem to look for it all the time. And we have purchased pieces as we've traveled or as we've seen them, and they were by these furniture makers, mostly Danish, from this sort of golden era of mid-century Danish furniture, where it seemed to be most successful, most beautiful, where they studied the body and the anthropometrics to get the positioning right and to make sure it's comfortable. So it served two purposes. It was functional and it was beautiful. Some pieces I enjoy making furniture. These pieces are usually inspired by minimal design, classic pieces, traditional pieces, and then I usually pare them down and try to simplify them. Not intentionally, it just seems to be the way I work. It's kind of a combination of old pieces and new pieces that are made. I just happen to love making furniture and fairly simple pieces, but I like to think that they're elegant and timeless. So it's really an eclectic mix of things, and the flow is always important, the arrangement is always important, it's mostly made up of things we love. This is the refrigerator here, and again, all of the large appliances I wanted to try to conceal as much as possible. So we did this panel on the front, and that's all of our food in there. But anyway, yeah, so the goal was to make it go away. I mean, in a paneled wall. Nashmi is the cook in the family. He is a wonderful cook, chef, and he doesn't necessarily go by recipes. He might read a recipe and then do his version of it, but it's always just wonderful. And we cook here all the time. This is not a show kitchen. It's a used kitchen. I wash the dishes, so that's my part, my contribution. But I tell you, these here are a pair of sconce by Felix Agostini. He was a furniture and lighting designer. He was originally from Paris, and these are really special to me. It's a piece of cast bronze, which is mounted to the wall with the shade above. And he makes, a lot of different styles, but anyway, I found these. They were a great deal, and I absolutely love them. So that's one of the things that's special in this kitchen.
Well, you've heard us speak about how much entertaining we like to do. Well, none of that would be possible without this wonderful kitchen. As we enter it, you'll notice that the kitchen is dominated by this large blue island and then topped with a pot rack from Ann Morris. The island has a marble countertop, which people may not want to use because it's so susceptible to staining, but it's a Vermont marble that we love. Once a year we bring someone in to clean it up, and it works for us. As far as the other features of the island, we decided to add these turn legs to give it a bit of a nautical feel and spirit of the rest of the house. Then we employed the services of a local decorative painter, Deirdre Mannix, to give it this wonderful character. She applied layers of paint and glaze to give it sort of a worn, antiqued look, and I just love the color. The glass knobs also add a little bit of reflective touch, and also it gives it a sense of age, I think. When people talk about painting their islands, should they be the same color as the cabinets or a different color of the cabinets? And as a general rule, we kind of look at the size of the space. In a smaller kitchen, an island painted the same color as the cabinets may work better and make the space feel larger. But in a space like this, where it is a bit oversized, the contrasting color really gives the island some personality and gives the kitchen a little personality as well. These lovely sunflowers, it's hard to miss as well, are from a local farm just down the street, Moore's End Farm. We watched them growing in the fields, and it was impossible not to stop the car and just pick up a bunch and throw them in this old crock that we have. Another feature I'd like to tell you about in the kitchen involves this sofa. Many times in a kitchen with a window like this, you'll find that the architect or builder wants to put a window seat in. Personally, I've never met a window seat that I find very comfortable. And typically they're against a window, so your pillow and back are leaning against the window, which feels somewhat awkward. So what we decided to do was take this mid-century Danish sofa covered in this wonderful linen that we found from a shop in West Palm Beach, Faustina Pace, and put the sofa in the kitchen. People initially thought it was a little bit strange, but almost everybody who wanders in this kitchen at some point within the first 30 minutes is seated at that, and usually with a glass of wine in their hand. So I've told you about how wonderful this kitchen is. Gary's actually the chef in the house. I do some baking, which I started primarily during COVID with the classic sourdough starter that everyone was using at the time. And believe it or not, let me show you what I have here. I actually have some sourdough ready to bake off for tomorrow's dinner. I've kept the actual starter since 2020, so it's very active. So another tip with a kitchen is to place artwork on any of the various wall space that you have. In this case, we had a space aside a pantry closet, and we used these great photographs by a local photographer, David Halliday, all nautically themed, so it ties in with the rest of the house. Then additionally, we have a wonderful painting. It's of the Life Saving and Shipwreck Museum, which is actually just down the street. It's by a wonderful artist friend of ours named Diane Dicker. And lastly, we have a great collection of reverse glass paintings of ships that I can't honestly say I know the provenance. I bought them at auction, but they look great in here. And again, it's just little things you can do to give your kitchen some personality. It's a room where you spend a lot of time, so why not? Typical dinner party for Gary and I on the island would involve fish. We have friends who will tell you that they've probably eaten swordfish here more times than they care to count, but we do serve other types of fish. Generally, we also source local produce. For dessert, I mean, Gary typically has, apples, berries, that sort of thing around. He makes a mean fruit cobbler, which we're lucky enough to enjoy one the other evening. And then lots of wine.
And off of the other side of the living room, this is, I would say, the heartbeat of the home. This is our kitchen. And we asked our designer, our architect, to build kind of as big of an island as possible, because we do use this for hosting as well as in the morning. I wish you could see the kind of lunches being packed, and then mangoes being chopped, and then over there's usually syrup on the counter from some sort of waffle mess. And so anyway, this is kind of, if the kitchen is the heartbeat of the home, this is like the main aorta, the island. And he basically said you can get a slab up to kind of 130 inches. And so we did that. We said let's see what we can get out of it lengthwise. When I went to the slab store, I saw this beautiful slab with a book matched slab right next to it, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'd really, really like that. So we were able to get both, and you'll see that that's throughout our kitchen as well as on the fireplace that you guys just saw in the living room. These lanterns are fun. I wanted the ones from Urban Electric that are so fabulous, but quite frankly, we had spent a lot of money on the house, and I thought, okay, you know what, this may be an area that I have to go a little more meager. So I found these through Sam's. I think they're Cristorama, and they were black, and so I used a chalk paint, painted them kind of that beautiful robin's egg blue, and put the glass back on, and I love them. I think it's kind of an unexpected pop in here to have blue lanterns. Hilariously, our kids lately, we both really do love to cook. I'd say if it's inside, so if we're baking or doing something on the stove, I do that. And honestly, the kids have been doing most of the baking lately. They just love it. And my husband is the grill master. You'll see he's got the egg and the other grill, and he loves getting out there with some meat, with some root vegetables. We love bacon wrapped jalapenos. So we do those often. And so we kind of I think we all have our lanes, which is nice. So this is this is faux or fake, if you will. These are from Amazon. These peonies, I wish you could see them up close and touch them. They feel and look 100% real. I had essentially been doing arrangements every week from December of 2021, and I thought, you know what, it's not very economic, and it's kind of exhausting. So I just hunted down real touch hydrangeas. These, again, have that latexy touch to them. And then these peonies from Amazon, again, I can't tell you how many compliments I get. And then I think if you nestle in just kind of some fun oddities, like this is just some random driftwood that we had. I was asked to do a wreath for this charity, and I had some leftover faux eucalyptus, so I just shoved that in there, and it kind of came together. Oh, and these little limes, I'll go ahead and take one out so I can show you, but they're just kind of, fake limes on a stick, that very, very formal. And then, put lime on stick and stick in styrofoam, and that's kind of how it goes. I'll have to nestle that in there a little bit, but I get so many compliments on this, hilariously. It's one of those pieces that you would never think that just, throwing together would be such a statement, but it really actually helps us not have to overhaul this space very often. And I use it for a lot of parties too. I don't really have to change it out, except for, I think at Christmas, I love doing like pine and deep greens and magnolias. Hilariously, when we finished the house, we moved in the week before Christmas. I was sort of adamant about that. And so there were areas that weren't wallpapered yet, and I just said, you know what, they can wait. So our first Christmas party we hosted the day after we moved in, the first Christmas party in this house. And this space was not wallpapered, and there was nothing hung. And so we had kind of a guessing game of people asking us what this space was. And the number one was a timeout closet. But But no, it's not. It's our wine sort of cellar display. I had always loved the idea of having wine on hand for parties, etc., but I didn't want it nestled away necessarily. I think wine is beautiful. I think the vineyards actually spend a lot of time thinking through labels and the colors. For instance, La Marca, Veuve, everyone knows those colors. They're so iconic, and I think they're some of my favorite colors. I mean, and so I think that it's art in a way. And so it's kind of a fun way to give them their ode, and also, like I said, have ample wine on hand for when we go to parties and we want to bring a hostess gift, or if we spur of the moment want to celebrate something, throw it on ice and we're ready to go. So this is what I affectionately call my ladies bar. I actually wallpapered this myself because it was kind of an after the fact. I'd had that wallpapered in the breakfast nook and I had some left over, and I thought, you know what, I really want this to display some of the special things for me. I feel like Brian gets his bar and it's a little more masculine. And so this was where I can display a lot of my pink plates, some sweet gifts I've gotten over the years. I think this Murano glass is just stunning. And then these are teacups from Brian's great-grandmother that we inherited, and I just thought they were worthy to be displayed. So this is my little ladies bar that just makes me happy. And again, it's practical. We grab wine glasses there from often. We can set up, you know, a bucket of wine here to create a different space.
I'm a very casual person. And if I'm cooking or someone's helping me, there's food laid out on the counter, plenty of wine, everything set up here, and cooking can happen in this small space. Counters are up high because I'm a tall guy, and nobody else can help me do the dishes because it's all about getting up high. And kind of kitchen stuff is everywhere. I like vases a lot, and I can use different things and layer things out with color when I'm here cooking and, you know, doing what I enjoy doing a lot. And finally, in a new house, the lighting works well in here, better than my old home where I lived before. So that's kind of the way it goes. It's like everything's here, pots and pans are even scattered that way, and a lot of my entertaining ends up in outdoors and outdoor structures too, because it works well that way. But this has turned out to be really efficient for me. I enjoy it a lot, and you still have a view of the outside, and it really works well. I have a propensity to finding things that are unusual, and this I saw in Chicago, and somebody had made 1 or 2 different milk carton things like this, different colors with a composite concrete. It's heavy. I told them, don't sell it, I'm gonna come back tomorrow, I think I have to buy it. And I just have this here. Sometimes you can put a flower in it. It just makes me happy. And almost anybody, especially when I'm entertaining, comes and picks this up and goes, what is this? And oh my gosh, who would have thought of that? I like a sense of humor in art. It makes me really happy. Makes it a little bit more user-friendly, I guess. In the kitchen that I had redone in my little garden house, as I call it, I'd had a lot of chopping block material, so I made chopping block right a part of the kitchen counters, and I immediately missed that here. So I realized I needed a chopping block. I needed something I could move when I needed to scrape things off. I needed something that I could pull around, put cheese and wine on and serve things from here. And one conversely on the other side that I use when I'm making things. So I'm kind of a busybody when I do things, and having this stuff here that's maneuverable works really well for me. I miss the built-in countertops, but I think this is actually more fun. And they're easy to wash off when you just need to put them in the sink too, so it works pretty well. I had found this painting, which was incredible, at just an antique store, and it was only $150. I couldn't get over it because it's all pots and pans. And it worked out perfectly with the nature of what I like to do. It's kind of like, that would be my kitchen if I lived somewhere in Paris, it looks like. Another table that I did with the little barometers on it, which I built up taller and turned into a bar. So things kind of get formed for what I need because I enjoy reinventing things, and I have the metal people that help do it. On the counter right over here by the door is one of my favorite things because this is always a vignette. I'm always using the fruit and such, but nothing makes me happier than little funny pieces of art like this. Here, I'll move this out. It's, it's a wooden salmon with that. I found it in Marfa, Texas, where I have a little house. And I found this there too. And then once again, an alligator. So I'm always redoing, I'm not redoing, but kind of restyling things in the kitchen because I want it to look good. This is a great vase somebody gave me that holds water and you can put little flowers in there. So it's all about history and kind of knickknacks. I have to slow down with the knickknacks. I'm going to get too much, I'm afraid. I always knew, you know, the kitchen's blue because I'd been traveling for a while before I built the house in London and somewhere in France. And I like the idea of the blue. I like blues a lot. And I knew I was going to use the stainless. So I started with just doing this with the blue and some blue underneath the overhang here. Then I realized, why wouldn't I paint the door that blue? Then a few months later, I'm walking around in the yard and I look and I go, why wouldn't I paint this wall that blue? So it ended up morphing all its way to under the steps, which turned out great. I mean, that's what architecture is sort of about too. The angles, what was coming in, what can be framed. I little by little picked up the walls, how they notched back and framed it in until it taught me when I looked from outside where it needed to stop and where it needed to start. It just took about 4 months to decide.
We can come through from the dining room is the kitchen area, which I love. This holds a ton of people and it ends up, you know, as always, the party ends up in the kitchen. So it's pretty big. We did light pine wood in here and it just keeps this really airy and kind of natural. This island was actually made from heart of pine floor joists that we pulled out of the house. So the cabinets, the counters in the butler pantry and here are this heart of pine, which I just love. Keeps it very cozy and warm, and I love an all white kitchen, but this is actually multiple shades of gray. All the paint in the house is either Farrow and Ball or Donald Kaufman besides that fading frost. There's some Benmore upstairs. I love picking out colors. It's just one of my favorite things. So there's about 4 different colors going on in here that just kind of balance really well. And I'm preparing cheese straws. That's what I'm going to do this afternoon for the baby shower that's coming up. So this is this very special Swedish, all the new stuff doesn't work. This is a vintage Swedish cookie press that will pump out these old-fashioned cheese straws, which is kind of a Southern prerequisite. Just took a long time to deep dive to figure this all out. So I mentioned Dave cooking earlier. We love to keep this little faux area under this island where we keep our heaviest Dutch ovens because he will do just a great all-day stew on Saturdays and he's really the cook. So that's where this all happens. We put in this Lacanche stove, which we love, and hard to choose a color that you're gonna live with forever, but this one's working, especially with these Farrow and Ball colors that we chose. It just kind of blends right in. So we did no shelves, open shelving, and just kept a really kind of fresh and airy kitchen. Okay, so I wanted to show y'all these because I've talked about my napkin rings in silver that I love so much. I've started block printing this all. I'm making hardware based on some buttons that I found up in our little farmhouse in Maine. That's a whole nother project. But I had this block carved in Jaipur, and that's one button that I've based it on that was actually this big. But so I'm starting this whole different design and using our house in Maine for kind of a lab that I'm going to do fabrics and wallpaper for. So my nephew is getting married next week, and I've block printed napkins for him to go with. I'm so excited about this. And my soon-to-be his fiance, these gorgeous sterling napkin rings with their initials that were already on it. These are from England, and I think they're just going to be so pretty. She likes kind of natural colors, and I just think it's going to be awesome. Kind of old and new at the same time. Okay, I was going to show you a quick little demo of how I do these flower arrangements for this baby shower. So I'm going to use these all these antique baby cups. I also use these on Christmas trees, and it's just fun. So to do a base, like this is a nice little piece of hydrangea that's really fluffy and ends up being a base. This is so easy. And then this little pretty thistle and some delphinium. Kind of make it wispy. You know, it just doesn't need much. I mean, that looks great as is. I also like using herbs. So I've cut mint this morning. And just get a little touch of green. That just kind of does the trick. Easy, easy peasy. A ton of these all over the table are great. Little nosegays. So we have this big farm table that I love. If it's just the two of us, we work on the end of this, but I've set this for family that's coming over. We love Simon Pierce, and I love using these are 19th century French absinthe glasses that are hand blown. So it works so well with the Simon Pierce, as old and new, but all feels kind of modern and fresh. I love these napkin rings, sterling napkin rings that have numbers on them, which I'm hoping, I wish I'd had time and I would have, my gift to my nephew has his initial on it, but I'm hoping they'll engrave numbers on the back, because if you're having, you know, family or you're at a vacation spot, then you can reuse the napkins depending if they're not overly, you know, soiled, but everyone, you know, you reuse the same napkin if you know your number. Our children always fought for like their certain number that they had on their napkin ring. So I love collecting these. This this is a Nantucket basket that belonged to my mother-in-law that we had up in our bedroom, and when the fire happened, the roof collapsed and completely squished this, which is so sad, but now it's almost become an art piece. It has this beautiful piece of scrimshaw that has the Ferris wheel from, merry-go-round from Watch Hill, and I just love it. So anyway, it lives here, and it's just one of my favorite things. This is one of my paintings that took me a long time, about 6 years to finish it, but it's one of my favorites. These are fava beans that I hand carried from New York home, and the David Austin roses that we grow outside.
So as you can see, the glass is sliding through and carrying itself from the great room over to the kitchen. And the living area has a fireplace, but one of the things that is really special about this house is there's also a fireplace in the kitchen. I think it's such a luxury, and it really treats the kitchen as a living space and not just a space that does cooking and work. This is a space that we gather, and it's kind of small, but it works really well for me. So I always want a kitchen to feel like a living space. It's a space that people always gather, and I always want it to feel like it's part of the home. So I love to hide appliances so that it just feels more calm and it feels more elegant to me. So hidden behind the panel there is the refrigerator. And over on this side is the oven and cooktop that I've hidden behind doors. It gives this beautiful elevation so that the fireplace can be the star. But if I need to cook, this opens up, and the cooktop and the oven are behind the doors. I also have things that I love for display, because we all know that this ends up open more often than it does close because you're usually using it. So one of the things I did in the kitchen when I renovated it, besides putting the oven and the cooktop behind the doors, was I moved the refrigerator over here, and I made a really shallow cabinet here. And what that did for me was it allowed me to extend the island to be a longer space, which I wanted. But I love having these shallow spaces. It becomes kind of decorative. And within all of this, it's really not just about dishes. You can see that I've really kind of filled the shelves with things that I love. So I looked for things that had pink in it, and a lot of the glasses have pink because that was kind of the idea in the home. And I have little objects that I also have collected. This is a Japanese candy maker. I love the stained color, this wood, and I love having the idea of a bird. So I think it's fun for people when they come to someone's house is to feel like they get to know a little part of you. So composed within here are things that I love. And I think over time it'll probably shift around, but that's what I have right now.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.